Good morning and welcome to Scuderia Ferrari Racing News. It's been a little more than a week since the race in Australia, but let's try to understand which results gave the analysis of the data in Melbourne and how the team is preparing for Sepang.
We've spent the recent days analysing the performance in qualifying and the race. Obviously our race pace looked quite a lot better than the qualifying performance, and I think some of that is down to the way the car uses the tyres, so there's a lot of analysis going into trying to understand one lap performance against a long run performance in the race. And similarly we've also been looking at the aerodynamic characteristics of the car, trying to understand where we can improve it, where we think there's more potential to be had. So we've been basically developing a test program that we'll be working through in Malaysia. Starting with the DRS, it's a interesting development for Formula One. I think teams are now all closing in to have a similar drag reduction level. So people's top speeds are can vary between 20 to 25 kilometres an hour. I think it has made overtaking slightly easier, particularly for when you're stuck in traffic behind back markers, but it still showed with the settings in Melbourne, which are about the longest they could do there because it was the whole of the main straight. It's still difficult to overtake cars on a similar performance. So you need to be within something of the order of 3/10 of someone in the last corner to be able to get alongside them by the end of the start-finish straight. In Malaysia, the straights are a little bit longer, and there's obviously a number of them, so again I'm not sure yet. I think the FIA are still discussing whether we'll just have a single deployment or two deployments. So it's sort of in the hands of the FIA still of how they can still tweak and adjust the level of overtaking. But I think it helped people get through the back markers. It wasn't too easy, so it was there's still some racing out there. There were still people stuck. I mean, we had Mark Webber behind us at the end of the race, and again it wasn't enough for him to be able to overtake us, so which is good. Kerrs, I think again that is it's a very useful addition to your lap time performance. People are using it differently. Some people just use it in qualifying and it looks like the start. Other people are using it properly all the time. And I think that does again help your overtaking because you can use Kerrs to close the gap and then the DRS to close the gap. So the combination of the two, it becomes a bit of a game between the two cars. So you've got the car behind trying to use both to overtake, and you've got the car in front trying to use his Kerrs to pull a gap early on the straight. So it's interesting, but it's in a way it's good that it hasn't made overtaking too easy. Tyres, I think Melbourne was obviously quite cold, and I think a lot of people were struggling with the tyres, ourselves included, in qualifying, getting the most out of particularly the hard tyre on one lap. I think it'll be very interesting with these tyres in Malaysia, where obviously rather than a 20-degree ambient and a 25-degree track, it's going to be a 35 ambient and up to a 50-degree track. So I think that will be another interesting sort of thing for us to get to grips with. Pirelli have been saying that as the circuit gets hotter, the tyres are going to get closer together. We haven't had any experience running in that hotter conditions, so again that's part of the Friday programme, is to try and understand how the two tyres work on short and long runs. I suppose as overtaking is slightly easier, or appeared that way in Melbourne, it can only help the show because the tyres make it slightly more challenging, where they're obviously, or challenging, more exciting I suppose. You don't, Melbourne last year, if it had been dry, you would have stopped on lap 5 and just run one set to the end. So the race is all out the way quite early on. at least now with the tyres lasting 20 laps, it forces people to do a minimum of 2 stops. You know, there was a mixture of 2 and 3 stops. There was only one person that attempted a 1 stop in Melbourne, and I think pace was quite slow to try and actually achieve that to start with. So yeah, it's a good mix, but I think tyre-wise it will change again with the temperature. So again, will it be that situation in Malaysia? It's hard to say at the moment. These years it's a constant development. So I say we've been analysing our sort of qualifying and race performance. There's a few little things we want to try and change and improve, which we're adding into an already busy test programme. So there's quite a few aerodynamic updates that we have got coming through for Malaysia, and to that we've added 3 or 4 additional aero test items just to try and understand the car better. I would think we'll also have some parts to test between Malaysia and China. So it's just these years it's a constant development all the way through the year. Well, I suppose the first and obvious thing is being in the temperatures that you're running in there. You need a car with sensible cooling levels. Sometimes you have a car where you open up the cooling and you lose a huge amount of downforce, and that's been quite evident in the past. And you see people's performance from very hot circuits to very cold circuits vary quite a lot because of the cooling effects. So you need a car that cools well. You need a car with a reasonable amount of downforce. Particularly there's that high-speed combination of corners just at the start of Sector 2, which is quite challenging. It's a good all-round sort of combination circuit. And I suppose the other thing you're always looking at in Sepang is when do the showers turn up in the afternoon, just to make either qualifying or the race more exciting. Well, I think in Melbourne the engines are, well, the cooler conditions obviously give the engines an easier time. It should all be quite easy for people just to control cooling levels to make sure. I must admit I can't remember the exact power effect differences between the two tracks.
With the help of our test driver, Marc Genet, let's go to the Melbourne circuit, waiting to see the 150 Italia in action.
Malaysian Grand Prix is a very demanding track for the drivers. There's a lot of dehydration during the whole weekend, and drivers, we have to work specifically on our physical condition. Also very demanding on the cars, on the aerodynamics, because the corners are very high speed, one after the other, so the most efficient cars on aerodynamics will probably perform the best. And it's also a very demanding circuit for the engine and for the oil. So Shell engine and Shell oil, if they perform at its best, which we expect, that can make a difference against our competitors.
How is the work of mechanics organized? Let's ask Diego Ioverno, Head of Track Operations.
The condition, both physical and mental, of the team is very important for their job. First of all, because their job is quite hard from the physical point of view, because they have to stay all the day working around the car in difficult position, and then they have also to give a physical performance during the pit stop that is very important for the result of all the race. Moreover, it's also important the condition of the guys in terms of behavior and in terms of emotion during the year. It's very long, it's very tough, with a lot of pressure. So try to help the team in all this. We have different tools as a company, so we have a gym, we have a trainer, and we have also the possibility to follow each guy in case they have a particular problem in terms of feeling or whatever. First of all, it's important to clarify that what normally is known as the mechanic crew of Ferrari is really, in reality, a group of people, very heterogeneous, with a lot of different jobs. They normally, their main activity is to build up the car in the factory, but there are also some of these guys that are driving the truck until the places where we have to have the car running. And when we are in the circuits, they build up the car. They are a bit of the tutor of the reliability of performance of the car. Moreover, they also are the pit stop crew, so mechanics that normally build up the car or drive the trucks are the guys that are also changing the tires in the pit stop. The work throughout the year of the guys is changing as is changing the need that we have. So at the beginning of the year, the most important thing is to go in detail of the new design. So using the design and the DMU, so the digital mock-up, trying to understand how the car has to build up to work properly. This is a very important phase that during the year is substituted by the need to speed up the process. So during the year then we have to, obviously keep on assembling the car as it has to be, but also find a way to do it in the more efficient and quick way. So this is what normally we have to follow during the prosecution of the season. The job of the mechanics has changed quite a lot due to the different rules and the different scenarios. We know that in the last years there has been some restriction in the number of people that can be used during a race weekend. And this has brought every team, and also Ferrari, to redefine the roles of each guy and try to have more possibility to have interchangeable people that can do different jobs, always obviously with the maximum level of performance that is possible. Technology in our job is very important. We are working in a very dynamic system, so we have to follow up everything using the technology tools that we have. In this case, for instance, Acer is giving us a fundamental support because all the assembly is not done by design on the paper as was by drawing on the paper as was in the past, but using the computer, so using the DMU. And for us it's very important that Acer supplies us with a very robust and efficient PC because of the ambient in which we have to work around.
For the first time, Ferrari Driver Academy runs Formula One cars at Mugello, a renovated circuit. Let's ask Luca Baldisserri some more details about this test.
Let's go!
Today we had the one of our stage of the Ferrari Driver Academy here in Mugello, a track completely resurfaced with a very flat asphalt, and our F60, so the 2 years old Ferrari, was very hard for the car, very hard for the tires. Jules Bianchi started the day. He represents for him training day in the Formula One package, and he's a training as well for the starting of his championship, the GP2 championship in Turkey. Then followed by Davide Rigon. For him is a different job, so Ferrari for us is important because his experience in a real car complete the job that he's doing at the simulator. So not only simulated car, not only that, but for him testing a real car, complete his job, and so he can hopefully having a lot more feedback from what is it will be his work at the simulator.
So today was my first time in Mugello with the Ferrari, so it was really good. I knew the track with the Formula 3. We test different setups to improve the car because at the beginning was not perfect, and then yeah, it was a really good day for me. F60 for me was really good. At the beginning a bit of problems, and obviously we resolved it by changing the setup, so it was really good. And yeah, I enjoy really much the F60.
Here at Mugello with Ferrari, it was a fantastic feeling, unbelievable to feel the Formula One, how quick it is in the Arrabbiate corner and this fast straight in Mugello. Really fantastic feeling for me for my first time. I learned a lot today for my train, for everything, so very nice day for me. The Mugello track is very nice. It's very tough, very difficult for me, for the driver, for the car, for the tires. So normally when you are quick here, it's very important because you can be fast in all the world. The track is very difficult for everything, so I like this track. It's unbelievable the grip that you have in the corner here. This test day helped me for help the guy in the simulator to give more information about the moving of the car, about my feeling into the car compared to the simulator. So also the vision in the track is a nice step for me, and I can now give a lot of information to the guy to improve the simulator.
And with this, we came to the end of the program. See you next time.